So Vietnam had its first ever white party around 2-ish weeks ago. And well, I made a vlog about it, which you can check out right here. But the question is, was it worth it? Was it worth the 2 million VND it cost to attend the event? And well, the answer to that question is, yes and no. So let me explain. So if you saw my vlog, you might have noticed that it was kind of dead. Like not even a fifth of the room was like filled with people. And for many people, just that fact in itself would be enough to call this event a total failure, a total flop. But if you notice in my video, I still managed to have a pretty good time. So personally for me, the answer to the question, was Vietnam's white party worth it, would be a yes. But I think it would take a certain kind of person or circumstance for you to have fun at this event. Because I would totally understand if someone came to this event and said that they had like the worst time ever. Like they did not have fun at all. Which, you know, is a shame, but I get it. But I'll explain what I mean later on in this video. So in this video, I'll start off by kind of explaining the circumstances regarding the organization around this event, because I think context kind of matters here. Then I'll talk about the facilities, aka the venue, the bar. Then I'll go over the music and the Gogo boys. And then at last, I'll go over the crowd and the general vibe of the place. So yeah, let's just get started. Oh, and just as a general disclaimer, I have never actually been to the original white party in Bangkok, so my frame of reference is very limited. Maybe this December that will change. Maybe I'll go to my first ever Bangkok white party. Psst, white party, you can sponsor me, by the way. So yeah, let's just start off with a series of unfortunate events that preluded Vietnam's first ever white party. So white party was originally going to happen on July 20th and the 21st. And while I don't have a whole lot of gay friends here in Vietnam, the few that I did have showed quite a lot of general excitement. Like one of my friends even mentioned that he had friends like flying in internationally just to attend this party. Now again, I'm not super involved in the gay community here, so I do recognize that I do have like a very narrow point of view. But in my small circle, it did seem like that there was hype. Like people were excited to go. But then disaster struck. The General Secretary of Vietnam's Communist Party ended up passing away. And he passes away literally the day before the event on July 19th. And because of his death, literally the entire country went into mourning the next day, which obviously meant that white party had to be postponed. Honestly, I'm just surprised that the event wasn't just outright canceled, because bro, they had everything ready and set up. Like it was literally announced that the guy was dead the evening of the 19th, the evening before. Like they must have had the stage set up, all the DJs and the Gogo boys have been flown in already. Like God was being very homophobic for some reason. I'm just kidding, God, I'm sure you had a good reason for doing this. Don't strike me with lightning, please. And so after the death, white party made the announcement to postpone the event, and obviously people were pissed. Refunds were made, nails were broken. I mean, it's not like the people who planned their trips to come into the country would like come back for the postponement date. And not just that, the postponement date, so August 30th and 31st, these were the dates of a Vietnamese holiday. So even if there were locals who were interested in attending the postponed event, many of them have already secured plans at the end of August to, you know, like go back to their hometowns to visit their families or, you know, do other things. Point is, they may have already made plans for the holiday. So it was not looking good for white party. But the show must go on. And it did. Which is why I actually found it very commendable that the event still happened. Because like, there is no way that they made a profit from this. And it's like really sad because honestly, I think if the original plan went through, I can easily see the crowd being like triple or double the amount of the people who actually went to the event. And yeah, I just think it's a real shame because I think the poor sales, I'm assuming, will really deter organizers from trying to make another white party in Vietnam. And I think that's really sad, to be honest. Because despite the struggles, I think they did a really good job. But anyways, that's the situation behind the organization of this event. So if you see clips of Vietnam's white party being dead as hell, I just want you to keep in mind the context surrounding the organization of the event. Like, cut them some slack. Because like, they still kind of ate despite all the shit that they went through, you know? But now, onto the facilities. So the venue was at Phu Thao Stadium. Please forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. And it was a lot nicer than I expected it to be. It was decently sized. It was pretty clean. And oh my gosh, I thought there was a very good lighting and sound system. It was quite loud, but you know what? That's kind of on me for not bringing my own earplugs. I mean, I'm a raver boy. I should have known better. The bar was simple. It was literally just like a bench and like the alcohol selection was like kind of limited, but it wasn't, you know, horribly expensive. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say it was cheap for like Vietnamese standards, but for Western standards, I'd say it was like pretty affordable. Also, I am lightweight as hell. So it only really took me like 4 shots or so for me to start feeling good. So in total, I spent like around 500K for the event. Not terrible for a night out. The VIP place was, well, I mean, you can see it right there. Like, it's just a platform with like extra space and extra seating. Honestly, I never really understood VIP sections. Like in every rave or event that I go to, like the VIP sections are always like, they always seem like the last place I would want to be in. Like aside from the seating, like I would never go in there. Like it just seems like you're secluding yourself from the fun, you know? Now for the music and the Gogo boys. Now if you are an OG on this channel, you would know that I am a raver, or at least I do occasionally enjoy attending some EDM raves. And just for reference, here's a list of artists that I like to listen to. And now with that in mind, let's talk about the music. I have to say that I was honestly pleasantly surprised with the music. Now, I am not a fan of like house music or like the general kind of music that they usually play at circuit parties. Like for me, it's the kind of music that sounds like, you know, bathhouse music, where it's kind of like that monotonous dum, 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 you know? And I was worried that the music was going to be like that, like very monotonous, very bathhousey, very housey. But I am glad to say that the music was actually kind of hype. Okay, probably the alcohol helped a lot in that regard, but I thought the music was hype enough to make me super energetic, and it was good enough to keep me moving. So the music was doing her job. But yeah, it was definitely not as monotonous as I thought it was going to be. Like, it still kind of had the same circuit party like beat, but like it was varied enough so that it wasn't boring. But then again, I was also quite drunk, and the music was quite loud, and loud music just makes you hype in general, you know, I don't know. Now for the Gogo Boys. So the Gogo Boys danced on these two black podiums in the crowd, and lucky for me, I got to see a performer that I know very well on Twitter. So that was nice, but I have to say that the energy was kinda, like, I don't know. In my opinion, I felt like the Gogo Boys didn't seem like they were enjoying themselves. Like, okay, I get it, you know, it's their job to be here. So like, you know, they don't have to be happy. But I don't know, it kind of felt like they were, like, it felt like they saw the event as a flop because of the less than stellar crowd. And because they saw the event as a flop, they just kind of decided to do like the bare minimum, you know? And this is like not to drag the performers or anything like that, because I also had very limited interactions with them. So like, again, very narrow perspective. Like in total, I think I watched the Gogo Boys for like a total of like 5 minutes. Like every time they came on, I would like, you know, scoot my way over and like watch them for like 30 seconds to a minute or so, and then just skipped away to the back of the room and danced with the new friends I made. So yeah, I did not interact with the Gogo Boys a lot. But from the little moments that I was there and, you know, watching them, it felt like maybe, like, kind of gave me the feeling that like they wanted more of a crowd that was like, you know, bigger, or like more hype, or like more enthusiastic, or more interactive or something. I don't know. It just felt like something was off. But obviously, like, I'm not a Gogo Boy. I'm not them. Like, I can't say for sure what it was that made me feel like the vibe was like a little bit off. But yeah, that's just how I felt. Now let's talk about the crowd and the boys. So the crowd was small. Like, there's no getting around it. It was very limited, but there was still quite a lot of eye candy. And if you saw my vlog, you'd notice that, you know, like all of the gays conglomerated towards the front, which was not where I was the majority of the time. So in the beginning, before I got drunk and lost my marbles, I was, you know, like roaming around in the front near the crowd. And I was with like 2 people at the time and their group. And these 2 people were like introduced to me via a mutual friend. And yeah, on the day was my first time getting to know them, getting to meet them, and getting to talk with them. So yeah, I was hanging near them in the beginning, in the front. And yeah, the vibe that I felt while I was there, immersed in the crowd, was something that I like to call the Chinchin effect. And for those of you who don't know, Chinchin is a very popular gay bar here in Ho Chi Minh City, arguably like the most popular gay bar. And it was a place that I used to enjoy quite a lot. But over time, I found that my enjoyment of the place has decreased quite a bit because of one phenomenon. You see, at Chinchin, I personally find it quite hard to make friends with people there, especially if you're going in alone. And like, looking back, I realized that like most, if not all, of the friends that I made at Chinchin were like expats or like the traveling tourists, just like foreign people in general, international people. And I find that making friends with locals is actually quite difficult because people tend to stay within their friend groups at Chinchin. And not only that, but the vibe here is kind of like one of my friends put it perfectly. He said, people go to Chinchin to be seen. And I think he hit the nail right on the head. Like, not only are these people in Chinchin clustered in like these walled off groups, but they also have like this vibe or like this mentality of like wanting to look cool or like wanting to look good. Like, it feels like a game almost. Like, the vibe that I pick up while I'm in there is like this feeling of them wanting to feel pursued. Like, they want you to like work hard to like get their attention or something like that, which leads to the place feeling like not super friendly. Or at the very least, it's like very difficult to break through those walls. And like, just to illustrate the walliness of this place, there's just one time when I saw a friend there. Now, I don't know this friend like super well, but we definitely like hung out like once or twice. So we're like, you know, friendly. Like a bit more than acquaintances. So when I saw him at Chinchin that one time when I was in there alone, I was like, hey, it's you! And he was like, oh, hey, Brian! And you know, we made some small talk. I asked him if he was here alone or like with friends. And he pointed to his group of friends on the table next to us and he was like, oh yeah, these people, these are my friends. And not a single person looked my way. Like, they all knew I was there, and like they all knew like I was a mutual friend, or like I knew this guy who was their friend, but they all showed like zero interest. Like, they didn't look my way, or if we did somehow make eye contact, like they would like look away immediately. Now, typically, or at least in my experience in like Western countries, if someone from my group of friends introduces someone into the group as their friend, my group of friends and I would be like, oh, hey, how's it going? You know, we'd like make the effort to make that new person feel welcomed into our group. And if that person wants to join us for the rest of the night, or if they don't want to join us, you know, that's up to them. But at the very least, you know, I would be like, or we would be like, hey, hi, it's me, Brian. Like, nice to meet you. Where are you from? Or like, you know, how do you know so-and-so? You know, just general small talk. Just make the guy feel welcome. But here in Vietnam, in Chinchin, nope. Not a single effort was made to make you feel welcome. And because I didn't feel welcome, I had to like, you know, make the extra effort to like say hi or, you know, try to get their attention or something. I had to like, you know, chase them a little bit to get their attention. And even then their reaction was like cold. Like, do you see what I mean now by how like walled off the vibes are? Now, granted, it could just be that, you know, that group of friends I met were just extra unfriendly. And that, you know, there are other groups that are a lot friendlier. And like, yeah, that might be true. But it's definitely not the first time where I felt this way at Chinchin. And when you're like physically there, you can always see the different clusters of groups that are attending the bar. And that is what I like to call the Chinchin effect. Now, back to White Party. So the reason why I explained that was because the Chinchin effect, I felt, was definitely in effect here at White Party. You can easily see the different clusters of friends and groups of people that were attending the event. However, it was not nearly as claustrophobic as it was at Chinchin, because at the gay bar at Chinchin, the Chinchin effect, the walled off effect, like it's extra prominent there because space is so limited. But at White Party, there was room to like roam around. And like there's room to like explore. So it was definitely easier to talk individually to people. But again, it was like hard to like break into like the friend group in itself, because, you know, even when I spoke to like an individual or someone, like the rest of the friends would kind of like look away or like kind of pretend like you're not there as you're talking to that one person, you know what I mean? But, you know, it wasn't as bad as Chinchin. Like I would say it was the Chinchin effect, but like half the power, which is better, but still not super ideal in my opinion. And like, you know, I do understand that like, you know, sometimes gays act kind of cold because like they automatically assume that you're trying to come on to them, because, you know, I understand it, the gay community, like it's so sexually driven that like when someone talks to you, you just automatically think that, you know, they're trying to hook up with you. And so yeah, I get there's an element of that, but I'm really hoping that one day like we can desexualize the gay experience enough such that you can just approach someone. But, you know, if you were at White Party and you had like a totally different experience, please let me know in the comments, because I know I'm very aware that I'm generally a much shyer person in real life, and because of that, I don't really try very hard to like interact with new people. So definitely my experience is a little bit biased because of that. So yeah, if you have a totally different experience, let me know in the comments. And like, you know, just because the general vibe that I felt was kind of closed off and like walled off, it didn't mean that I wasn't able to meet people. Like there were definitely people who were like super friendly, who approached me, and I approached them. Like they were cute, good people, good connections were made. So it's definitely like a mixed bag. It is what you make of it, but like I do have to try to warn you that the general vibe is still that kind of Chinchin effect kind of thing. So yeah, now back to the question of whether or not I think White Party was worth it. Now that you know my experience, you'd know that like for me, personally, I think it was worth it to go to White Party. But I also recognize that like a lot of my enjoyment came down to like luck. Like I was very lucky and fortunate to have found a really nice group of people in the back of the room who I could just like dance and vibe with. Like it was just like pure luck. Shout out to best girl, Kim Thuy, you the best. If it wasn't for her, I probably would have spent the entire White Party just like dancing alone somewhere in a corner. And like, you know, knowing what I know about the gay community here and how like performative it can be, like I understand it could have been a lot more of a negative experience. Like if you went in with the expectation of like finding a group of hot gays to like hook up with, I mean, there were a lot of hot gays and there were a lot of groups, but like, you know, because of the Chinchin effect, it might have been a bit more difficult for you to like break into that, unless you're like a muscle god or something. And like if you're expecting like 500 other muscle gods to be there, like you might be disappointed. But if you're someone who's just like open-minded to like whatever experiences come your way, then I think White Party would have been a fun time for you. Overall, I'd say White Party was worth it. If White Party happens again, let's pray to God that like he's not going to be homophobic the next time around and like the event actually goes through on the right day. Who knows if that will actually happen, because this first White Party, there's no way they made a profit on it. So my recommendation is, if you are planning a trip to go to White Party, I'd recommend you just go to the one in Thailand to get the full experience. But if you're coming to Vietnam at the same time of White Party happening, I'd say just go for it. Just go, why not, right? But yeah, I would not recommend planning your trip around going to the Vietnam White Party. Only attend if it happens to be happening while you're in Vietnam, you know? But yeah, that's everything I have to say on the matter. I had a lot of fun. And if you saw me at White Party, it was really nice to meet you. And like, you know, thanks for being respectful and keeping it chill. And apologies if I'm super awkward, because Because girl, I'm just a regular ass gay guy. Like I just happen to have a YouTube channel. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks again and see you.